Hi, this is Kate from Generate Magic. So you probably heard the expression conditions don't matter. But I'd like to take it up a notch because to me it's not even about ignoring or rejecting conditions or pretending they're not there, but it's really about us as the operant power deciding what it is that we're going to do with those conditions, because really nothing has any inherent meaning outside of the meaning that we give it. And so why not give it the meaning that we want to give it? And even moving beyond that, why not make everything a beautiful masterpiece? And James Allen in A Heavenly Life shared a quote that I just love. And he says, what does it matter if conditions are of this sort or that sort, if the form you give them is heroic or poetic? And so he uses very precise words here. And even though he's if you read it, he's a super articulate, eloquent man, and he uses a lot of big words and a lot of very beautiful, elaborate language. But I think it's very precise the way he says this or that. And because the use of those specific words really because we give so much weight to certain conditions, right? And thinking, well, it's okay, if my SP rejects me, that I can deal with, but these bills I have to pay, that's unacceptable, or this health condition is unacceptable, or a loved one who's sick or who has recently passed. And so there's all these, we try to pick and choose, okay, what conditions matter, or what conditions, we try to kind of give certain importance to some conditions compared to others, when really in the grand scheme of things, it all comes down to us. And I also like the specific way he says what form you give it, and because it really kind of places us again as the operant power and really the ultimate alchemist, and that we can really transmute anything and we can shape anything into something that works to our advantage, and again, even kind of taking it up a notch into a beautiful masterpiece. And I love the words heroic and poetic. And if you look at poetry, and if you look at some of the greatest works of literature, which I consider to be like poetry, or some of what are considered to be like the greatest films of all time, if you look at the content, the subject matter, or which is kind of analogous to what we consider the conditions in our life, which could be kind of like the content of our lives or the ingredients of our lives, the raw material, it's often what we would consider to be very tragic or very terrible. Like often these novels and these movies they might be about war or famine or tragedy. And just we take Romeo and Juliet, for example. Like on the surface, we just see it and we see this very terrible, very tragic story. But then as we probe deeper, and us in our creative agency, from our creative seat of power, we take that story just as Shakespeare did, and he just packs so much nuance into it, and so much texture, and so much beauty into it. And it just reveals so much about us and about the human condition and about life itself. And so what it ends up being is it ends up being a very beautiful, poetic, transcendent experience. And so I encourage you to take that approach with your life, to make everything just as grand as it can be. And even if maybe your life right now doesn't seem to be either wonderful or tragic, maybe it just seems very boring and very mundane, to try and see just if you can make it into a grand drama, just as a creative exercise with yourself. And I don't know if you're familiar with Rob Brezsny. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. He has a great newsletter, and it's called Free Will Astrology. But even if you're not into astrology, I would highly encourage you to read this newsletter. There's just a lot of really great tips and creative exercises. He shares a lot of wonderful quotes, and and he has just a lot of really fun creative exercises. And so one of them is specifically that it's taking something that seems very mundane or even ugly, like a rusted old Jeep or an old abandoned bike, and writing about it as if it's like the most beautiful, most awe-inspiring thing in the world. So do that today. Take something in your life and just make it as heroic and poetic as you possibly can. So with that, thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.